What is going on, everyone? This is Andrew O'Connell with Pristine Capital coming at you with yet another market recap video. It is December 7th, 2020. I am also the Director of Research at Leduc Trading. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy this content, and I will continue to make it for you. Today we're going to be talking about the price action, the indices, volatility. We're going to go under the hood and check out the sectors and style factors. We're going to look at some trades, and then we'll wrap up some options order flow. But before we jump in, quick risk disclaimer. Nothing in this video should be construed as investment advice or recommendations. Please follow your own trading plan, your own risk parameters. And last but not least, do not YOLO your entire account into one of my trades. So that being said, let's jump right into it. So we are going to start with, let's take a look at what the ES did. And today was a pretty crazy day where we had, interactive brokers with outages that actually impacted us in our trading room today. So we had outages there. We had outages on Robinhood. And I believe some people are having issues with TOS. I didn't really have issues though. Well, let's see our scoreboard for today. We have the S&P 500 down 0.21%. Qs up 0.57%, which is technology. Small caps up 0.1%, and we have the Dow Jones down 0.49%. So let's dive in. Was this like a super bearish day? What happened? Not really. There were some areas of the market that were absolutely ripping today, but the headline indices did not do, all that well. But if you take a look, we are still well above the monthly value area high, and we bounced off of that 5-day exponential moving average. So as of right now, for me, this is a very buyable dip. If tomorrow we start slipping and breaking through levels, that's a whole nother story. But as of right now, this is a dip within a very bullish trend. And that is the S&P 500. We'll take a look at the Qs. Keep it nice, short, and sweet. The Qs were the outperformer today, and the Qs had been outperforming, for almost all of 2020 up until this last month or two. Once the COVID vaccine came out, then the small caps and value really started to shine. So one thing I'm curious about is, this technology outperformance. Was this just, like a counter trend move, or more outperformance from the Qs? So let's check it out if my TOS will ever load. Let's see if it does. Anyway, we can see it now. So take a look at this. The Qs have done nothing for, a couple weeks now, or a couple months now. If you look at it, really consolidating, not making higher highs. And if you look, we just had a breakout. So I'm actually going to mark this level off. I think this makes sense right here. This is the prior all-time high. And in case we get, any pullback or anything of that nature, I definitely want to have this as a reference point. So I'm not going to create an alert. Hang on. I'm going to put, we'll do drawing tools, and we'll just do a straight line across. And we're going to make this one edit properties. I like this color for pristine. We're going to make it a 3 width. Extend it to the left. There we go. So now we have our reference for the prior all-time high. So with this, as of right now, it looks like we are targeting that 310.68 pivot up above. Now we have a reference for the prior all-time high in case we get a dip. This does look very bullish. And IWM, although it did, well, it actually closed up 0.1%, really just a doji candle. Nothing super bearish about this, really just a day of indecision and, just chopping sideways. Not really much to say here on this one. And one thing to note, we are about 2 weeks away from options expiration. As you know, if you've been following my content, options expiration week is typically when I like to, just focus on closing trades, not really opening much up. And typically that's when we get sort of like in the tractor beam of OPEX where there's, a lot of chop and barely any big moves. So we are starting to get closer to OPEX, but not there quite yet. Let's take a look at the Dow. Sorry, Dow. The Dow is down 0.49%, our worst performer for the day. And you can see we checked back into the, we went into the value area and we ended up closing above. Looks, the worst out of all the other indices, but, still nothing bearish here. Well, let's take a look. We'll pull up our heat map. Bring that up right here. There were a couple of standouts. Take a look. Apple, of course, crushing it. Facebook, had a nice day. We had Pfizer, the vaccine plays, Netflix. But if you take a look, it was a very mixed bag today in terms of breadth. There were a couple of big technology names that did very well. But, the cyclicals, the value, a lot of those names, not as much. So if we take a look even deeper, we'll go for the, the sectors and our style factors. Just get a feel for what happened. So this ARC Genomics Fund, oh my gosh, up 5.56%, is on such a tear right now. I was taking a look earlier, and it's not even being driven by CRISPR. It must be being driven by some of the other components. We have the cannabis ETF YOLO, which took a bit of a break, down 1.99%. We have energy down 2.34%, which had been on a tear. And then if you look at the sectors that have the the worst momentum, they all had a bounce. So if you look, home builders up 0.69%, utilities up 0.56%, and we had KWeb, which is the Chinese technology, worst momentum right now, up 0.58%. But the funny thing is, even though this one has the worst momentum, the Chinese internet companies, they're only down, less than 2% on the month. And you can see, pretty much everything is green. Right now, the market is super bullish. We'll take a look at our style factors. And you can see here, this was a bit of a change. So I always like, being that I look at this data every day, I like seeing when new things are happening. If you look at these style factors, you can see the ones with the highest momentum up at the top. High beta, was actually down on the day, negative 1.04%. We have the cyclicals down 0.53%. And if you look at, the ones that have the worst momentum, international momentum and Minvol, just slight pullbacks. But the best performers on the day were growth, momentum, and defensives. So that to me is a little bit strange, I would say. This to me shows, things were a bit risk off, where you have, it's strange that defensives were one of the best performers, and even Minvol was almost green. So this is something where, I want to pay attention. Of course, it's good that the momentum names, did well, but I'm curious to see this Minvol ETF, if that starts getting bid, that will definitely be something I look for, because in the past I've seen Minvol have a couple days of outperformance, and then we end up getting a correction. So not saying that's going to happen, but this is a bit of a character change in terms of these style factors. Oh, the watch list. So these are some stocks that I'm watching. We have, and I spruced it up a little bit. There's somebody on Twitter that, gave me some good suggestions in terms of how to make the PowerPoint look a bit better. So this is just a small step in that direction. We have Shopify, Intel, we have Sedge, AMD, and Airbnb. So let's look at these. So we'll take a look. We'll look at some of the movers, and then we'll look at some of the items on this watch list. So let's check this out over here. Oh my gosh, and I just got a new mouse today, and it feels so much better. My old mouse was breaking on me. So let's take a look. Shopify is one where I do have the 1090 1100 call spread for this Friday. So this looks like a pretty nice green candle, and I would love if we could tag that 1100 level tomorrow. I'm actually going to move this up slightly. Replace. So this one looks pretty good. We've had a long consolidation period, as you can see, and now it is consolidating right near the highs. We could get an explosion in Shopify pretty soon. It's one that I'm watching very closely. Some of the big movers today, MP Materials. This one I've been long for so long. This one I've been holding on to it. Somewhere in this, I started accumulating it from like $11 to $13. And you can see now this one, originally it was under the ticker FVAC. And then once the merger was completed, this one has really taken off. And I have just been holding on to this one for dear life. I have not taken any profits in it. Because I do believe this one could get into the 30s and 40s. So that is where, I would probably start, trimming a little bit from my position. But this one, they own the only rare earths mine in the Western Hemisphere. So this one, when I look at it, I'm like, this is just a pretty unique asset. So why would I want to sell it anytime soon? Another one that I own that, just went crazy today. Not as much, but Sama. This was like when I started working for Leduc Trading, I stopped posting as many, like live entries and exits on Twitter. But this was like one of my final entries where I got long these Sama. I got the 10 strike calls for $1.10, and now those calls are trading for like $3.50. So yeah, Sama's looking good. It's a cannabis SPAC. Gix was one that I entered today. It's a telehealth SPAC. And this one, I got some at 11.30, some more towards the highs, like 11.70. This one looks pretty good too. Really, all these SPACs are just moving. I think another one that moved, iPob. And it's so funny because with these, like, I realize they're super speculative. They all have very low floats. But it's one of those things where they're just all moving right now. So you just need to be careful that, you manage your risk and that you're not oversizing in these things. But they are just very hot right now. So, for that reason, I want to make sure that I'm at least participating in them. So we have iPob, also just completely went off. Palantir. This one, this is something I could have done better today. So I saw Palantir when it was up, 11% on the day. And I was looking at it and I was like, the upper Bollinger Band is like in the 30s. It's up 11%, but it could definitely go even more. I did not take the long entry here today and it ended up closing up, like 21%. So for whoever has this, great trade on their part. I definitely want to continue to watch this one. There's a lot of speculative call buyers that are coming in for Palantir on a regular basis. So there's some of the movers. Intel is one I also have for the watch list. Intel, there was some news earlier today that Apple is going to be, moving. I believe it's with their own chips for their new MacBooks. So Intel, I swung some puts long. I got the 50 strike puts for about like $3.15. And this one, you have sort of like this weird sloppy price action in Intel. Intel is one of the laggards in semiconductors, and they're really just not innovating. They've been whiffing on all their earnings reports. Like if you look, this was on earnings, just a complete whiff. This one was another just complete earnings whiff. And now you can see they pretty much filled that earnings gap. There was some selling here on this green candle. And, that headline from, Apple was sort of like the knockout punch here. So I am long AMD in terms of some common stock and some calls. So this one made sense where I was like, I probably should have, at least like one or two shorts as a hedge. I have AMD to trade against Intel. So this just made a lot of sense for let me swing these puts long. Let's see, this one's Solar Edge is another one I'm going to be looking at. The solar names, Jinko Solar missed on their revenue this morning. And, Jinko Solar had a bad day. Some of these other solar names also, performed pretty poorly today. But I'm noticing some relative strength in Sedge. So for that reason, I'm taking a look. I'm actually going to set my alert right now. I completely forgot about that. Oh my gosh. I'm going to set an alert right here, just in case for tomorrow. And then another one I have on my list, Airbnb, is going to be, its IPO is December 10th, That is one that I likely will be participating in. So that is one I just wanted to bring up. Just stay tuned for that one if you are interested in participating. We will take a look at some options order flow right here as well. And let's just see, where the big flow was today. So I'm just logging in here. Let me see if I'm already logged in. I should be. I'm in Cheddarflow like almost all day. Oh, there it is. So let's take a look. Oh my gosh, monster trade for Facebook. So we're going to look at, I have this sorted right now in terms of the largest orders, because the largest orders are the ones that actually move the market. Huge order for Facebook. And this one is really like a stock replacement play, pretty conservative, about a 60 delta. And it's out until February. Tesla, of course, we have our call buyers coming in. Tesla is just on a huge gamma squeeze. Palantir, a $1.6 million order. We have an order for Norwegian, which is pretty interesting. This one was a sweep order. Let me see what Norwegian actually did today. Let's see. Is this when they announced a partnership with, I believe it's like Atmos Air? And basically this company, that they're partnering with is going to, offer some sort of air filtration system. With these cruise lines, with all the recycled air, they're pretty bad in terms of the COVID situation, but this could certainly help. So I am going to be watching this name. Right now it's really just consolidating, sort of having these doji candles. If you look on the weekly, like I'd played this name long with some puts. I think I exited on one of these candles, but I acquired my puts pretty close to the lows over here. I mean my calls, sorry about that. But if you take a look, if Norwegian or any of these cruise lines were to get like anywhere near their prior highs, like let's say they even fill just this gap right here, at $40, it's a pretty good return. So I'm definitely watching these cruise lines. They get a lot of hate from everyone just because their business models are awful during COVID. But if something happens where, with the vaccine or with this partnership, they're able to start sailing again, these likely will take off. And I definitely could see them hitting, for this one in particular, around that 39, 42 areas, pretty conservatively. So we'll be watching that as well. But that about does it for our market recap video today. I don't want to keep you guys for too long. Thank you so much for watching this video. Again, please like and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy this content, and I will continue to make it for you. Have a great night.